I never thought that someone like me could believe in the supernatural. As a physics teacher, I believe in science and in what can be proven. But what I am about to share is neither theory nor fantasy. It is an experience I cannot deny, one that has completely transformed the way I view life, death, and what lies ahead for humanity. My name is Mark Thompson. I'm 42 years old, a physics teacher residing in Texas, USA. Growing up, I always believed that the world operated based on natural laws, leaving no room for the supernatural or the spiritual. This belief grew stronger as I pursued my degree in physics and later became a teacher. I often tell my students, only what you can measure, calculate, and prove is worth trusting. I am not an atheist when it comes to religion, yet I do not truly believe in God either. To me, God is merely a spiritual concept that helps people feel comforted during difficult times. Stories of heaven, hell, or signs of the apocalypse are just symbolic figures rather than something real. I believe that technology is the future of humanity, that inventions like artificial intelligence, global networks, and brain implants will help us transcend all boundaries, but all of that changed after a fateful night. That night, after a long day of teaching, I was driving home through a relentless storm. The rain poured down like a torrent, transforming the familiar road into a murky expanse of shifting shadows and blurred shapes. Every detail outside my windshield became obscured, leaving me with only a vague outline of the path ahead. Amid the chaos of the storm, a sudden flash of light shattered the gloom. A brilliant beam of headlights from another vehicle briefly pierced through the darkness. In that split second, as the light faded, everything around me was swallowed by an overwhelming blackness. I instinctively braced myself for the impact, fully expecting the searing pain and disorienting shock of a collision. To my astonishment, instead of the anticipated agony, I experienced an unexpected sensation of lightness. It was as if I had been momentarily released from the physical weight of my body. In that surreal moment, the usual sensations of pain and terror were absent, replaced by a profound detachment that made me feel as though I were observing the unfolding events from outside my own being. Time itself seemed to slow during those moments. The incessant roar of the rain, the hum of my car's engine, and even the rhythmic beating of my heart all faded into a deep, surreal silence. Caught in a delicate balance between life and the possibility of death, I found myself suspended in a state where the boundaries of the physical world blurred into obscurity. In this extended, suspended moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation, as though I had been freed from the constraints of my physical form. It was not a feeling of fear or pain, but rather an ethereal lightness that allowed me to perceive the world in a completely different way. A glimpse into a realm where the ordinary rules of reality no longer applied. That fateful night, as darkness enveloped me and the storm raged on, the experience left an indelible mark on my soul. It challenged my understanding of life and death, prompting me to question the very nature of our existence. Even now, the memory of that near-death moment lingers, a haunting reminder of how fleeting and fragile our physical reality can be, and of the mysterious forces that lie just beyond our everyday perception. When I finally opened my eyes, I found myself suspended high above the chaos of the storm, as if gravity had released its grip on me. Looking downward, I saw my own body lying inert in the driver's seat, motionless, untouched by the relentless pounding of the rain. The torrential downpour continued unabated, yet I no longer felt the icy sting of raindrops nor the chill that usually accompanies a storm. It was as though the very sensations of being human had been stripped away. In that surreal void, a mysterious, ethereal light began to materialize. It wasn't harsh or blinding, rather, it pulsed softly, with a gentle rhythm that seemed to mirror a heartbeat. This light wasn't coming from any recognizable source. It exuded an otherworldly presence, as if it were alive, breathing, and beckoning me closer with a magnetic pull. An overwhelming mix of emotions surged within me: fear, wonder, and an inexplicable longing. Drawn by this luminous entity, I felt an irresistible compulsion to move toward it. Every fiber of my being vibrated with the anticipation of crossing over into something entirely new, a realm where the boundaries of the physical world had melted away. With each drifting moment, the light grew warmer and more inviting, promising a passage into a reality beyond the constraints of pain, sorrow, and the mundane. In that breathless interval between life and death, as the storm raged on below and the world I once knew faded into insignificance, I sensed that this light offered not only an escape, but a rebirth. It whispered of transformation and the possibility of transcending the limitations of the flesh, a chance to step into a vast, uncharted dimension where my spirit could finally soar free. Without hesitation, propelled by both trepidation and hope, I allowed myself to be drawn into its embrace, leaving behind the remnants of a life that had once defined me. The luminous radiance that enveloped me began to coalesce, gradually forming an unmistakable figure before my eyes. In the midst of the ethereal glow, the vague outline transformed into the serene, majestic visage of a man whose presence exuded profound love and authority. Instantly, I knew this was Jesus. There was no need for introductions or spoken words. An inner knowing surged through me, affirming that this was the embodiment of divine grace. His countenance shone with an inner light, gentle yet commanding. His eyes, deep and all-knowing, seemed to hold the mysteries of the universe within them. As they met mine, I felt an intense, unspoken communion. It was as if every hidden thought, every unexpressed emotion was laid bare before him, and he understood me completely without uttering a single word. Around us, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The chaotic darkness that had once defined the world seemed to dissolve, replaced by a soft, radiant glow emanating from his very being. This glow was not merely a physical light. It was the light of hope, healing, and transformation. In that sacred space, I felt the weight of my earthly burdens begin to lift, replaced by a tender warmth that filled every corner of my soul. Every detail of the encounter resonated with profound meaning. The air was thick with a palpable sense of peace, as if the universe itself had paused to bear witness to this divine meeting. In that timeless moment, the boundaries of reality blurred. I found myself suspended between the tangible world and a deeper, more expansive realm, a realm where the eternal and the ephemeral met in perfect harmony. The sensation was overwhelming. The gentle warmth that flowed from his presence seemed to penetrate every fiber of my being, mending the hidden fractures of my heart and soothing long-forgotten wounds. In his silent embrace, the echoes of past sorrows and lingering fears faded away, replaced by an indescribable sense of renewal and hope. I sensed a silent invitation in his unwavering gaze, a call to leave behind the limitations of my mortal existence and step into a reality where divine love and infinite possibility reign supreme. His eyes, filled with compassion and an unspoken promise of redemption, beckoned me to journey beyond the confines of the physical world and explore the boundless realm of spiritual truth. In those seemingly endless moments of communion, I was both humbled and uplifted. It felt as though I had been granted a glimpse into the very heart of existence, a heart that beats with timeless compassion, understanding, and boundless hope. The divine symphony of light and love played a melody that resonated deep within me, echoing the promise of transformation and eternal grace. Even as the radiant presence began to gently recede, leaving behind a lingering glow that warmed my soul, I knew that the encounter had indelibly changed me. It was a reminder that even in the midst of life's darkest storms, there exists a divine light, a presence of unconditional love and infinite mercy, waiting to guide us home. Jesus extended his hand, and without hesitation, I reached out and grasped it. In that single, transformative moment, everything familiar around me dissolved into nothingness. I found myself standing on an endless plain, a vast, otherworldly field that stretched infinitely in every direction. The ground beneath me was smooth and almost luminous, reflecting a subtle glow, while the sky above was a pristine expanse, clear and unblemished, like a giant pane of glass that revealed the mysteries of the universe beyond. As I took in this surreal landscape, my eyes were drawn to an astonishing spectacle that defied all earthly logic. Suspended in the air were millions of screens, drifting weightlessly like ephemeral apparitions. Each screen was a portal of its own, bursting with its own cascade of vivid images and sounds. Some flickered with the sorrowful, hollow faces of strangers, their eyes vacant and haunting, as though their very souls had been stripped away. Other screens displayed scenes of vibrant joy, fleeting beauty, or profound despair, each accompanied by a symphony of overlapping voices, soft whispers, and echoes of lost memories. The overwhelming barrage of sensory impressions was both mesmerizing and disconcerting. The screens seemed to tell a story of humanity's deepest hopes and hidden agonies, a mosaic of emotions that captured the collective essence of our existence. Every fleeting image, every fragment of sound, carried with it an unspoken narrative, a tapestry woven from the threads of countless lives and experiences. I felt as if I were witnessing the inner workings of a grand cosmic memory, where every screen was a window into a different facet of the human soul. Amidst this chaotic visual and auditory storm, the steady, reassuring warmth of Jesus' hand anchored me in reality. His presence was a beacon of divine calm in the midst of overwhelming chaos. With his silent guidance, I began to move forward slowly across the smooth, surreal ground. Each step felt both weightless and significant, as if I were treading on the very border between the tangible world and a higher, transcendent realm. In that timeless space, the boundaries of time and memory melted away, moments stretched into eternities, and the distinctions between past, present, and future blurred into a continuous stream of consciousness. I sensed that every image on those floating screens was not random but a deliberate message, an invitation to confront the deep truths of our existence. To understand the interconnectedness of every human experience, it was a call to awaken, to see beyond the physical, and grasp the spiritual narrative unfolding before me. The experience was as overwhelming as it was enlightening, a paradoxical blend of chaos and order, fragmentation and unity. The myriad screens, with their unyielding display of the collective human condition, revealed a reality that was both raw and beautiful. They spoke of a destiny intertwined with hope, sorrow, and the eternal search for meaning. And throughout it all, Jesus' unspoken presence reminded me that even in the most disorienting revelations, divine love and guidance persist. As the vision of the endless plain and the myriad of drifting screens gradually softened into a gentle, all-encompassing glow, the impressions they left behind burned brightly in my memory. I realized that I had been granted a rare glimpse into a realm where the digital echoes of humanity converge with the timeless light of the divine. Standing there, hand in hand with the Savior, I understood that this experience was a profound invitation to embrace a deeper truth, to question the boundaries of our reality, and to embark on a journey toward eternal understanding and transformation. I'll never forget that moment. Jesus raised his hand toward the endless array of screens floating around us, and his voice, calm yet brimming with urgency, cut through the silence like a clarion call. "This is the battlefield of your generation," he said, his tone not angry, but deeply serious, almost pleading. "The enemy has twisted what you call progress to bind your very souls. They're conditioning the world to accept the mark of the beast." And then, on those screens, I saw it all laid bare. There were these tiny, sophisticated devices attached to people's hands and foreheads. They weren't just gadgets. They glowed with a sinister red light, as if they were etching an invisible, unerasable mark into every cell, every thought. Some of these devices were implanted directly into the brain, linking minds to a shadowy, all-encompassing global network. It was as if each person was being transformed into a mere cog in a vast machine designed to strip away their free will. As I watched, I could almost hear the whispers, soft, almost seductive voices promising unimaginable power and the ability to control everything with just a thought. But beneath that alluring facade, I felt a chill run down my spine. There was something profoundly cold and terrifying about it all, a complete total domination over human will and spirit. It wasn't liberation they were offering, it was bondage, a meticulous chain that would shackle our very essence. The screens showed countless faces, eyes vacant, expressions empty, as if the light of life had been snuffed out, leaving behind nothing but hollow shells. It was a stark, unsettling reminder of what happens when technology is used not to uplift us, but to control us, to erase our individuality until we're nothing more than drones in a grand, dehumanizing design. Hearing his words, I felt a surge of both sorrow and determination. Jesus wasn't just warning us, he was urging us to wake up, to see the danger looming right before our eyes. He was calling on us to stand up against a future where every bit of our freedom, every spark of our soul, could be snuffed out by a cold, calculated system. His message was raw and real, a plea to protect our humanity against a dark force that seeks to bind us with the very tools we once celebrated as progress. At that moment, I understood that this wasn't just about technology. It was about the very core of what it means to be human. And if we don't open our eyes, if we let ourselves be lulled into acceptance of that mark, we risk losing the essence of who we are. Jesus looked straight at me, and in that moment his eyes grew so intense and serious that I felt the weight of his message deep in my soul. "The time isn't here yet," he began softly, yet with an urgency that pierced through the quiet around us, "but it's much closer than you imagine." His words vibrated with a passion that made my heart pound. "When this mark is forced upon you, anyone who accepts it will lose their freedom. The freedom to choose, to think independently, even to hear my voice. Every thought of me will be wiped away in an instant, erased as if it had never existed." I stood there, struck by the gravity of his warning, as if the very air had thickened with the burden of a future we were all too eager to ignore. "Do not be misled," he continued, "by empty promises of better health, longer life, or incredible power. This isn't progress, it's the enslavement of your soul." I could feel a chill spreading through me, the cold certainty that our lives might be slowly eroded by forces beyond our control. Jesus' words resonated inside me long after they were spoken. I felt a tremor of impending doom, as though each syllable was a call to awaken from a deep, dangerous slumber. It was as if the promise of a better tomorrow had been twisted into a trap that would steal our ability to choose, our freedom to think for ourselves. The thought of our minds being hijacked by invisible powers sent shivers down my spine, making me realize just how precious our autonomy truly is. I pictured a world where every decision was preordained, where free will was reduced to a distant memory. The promises of technological marvels and boundless potential suddenly seemed like chains, binding us to a future of absolute control. The allure of progress, once so enticing, now revealed its dark underbelly, a future where every spark of individuality could be snuffed out in an instant. In that charged, heart-wrenching moment, I felt compelled to shout this truth from the rooftops. I knew that if we allowed ourselves to be seduced by these hollow promises, we risked losing not only our freedom, but the very essence of our humanity. Every fiber of my being screamed out a desperate plea to wake up, to fight for the right to think, to feel, and to remain truly alive. I recalled the countless moments when I too had been seduced by the glittering promises of modern marvels, blind to the silent cost of surrendering our will. Now, standing at the crossroads of destiny, I vowed that I would never let that mark steal away the light of my soul. I resolved to hold on fiercely to my inner fire, even as the shadows of a dark future loomed closer with every passing day. Jesus' message was both a warning and a call to arms, a reminder that the battle for our souls is fought not on distant battlefields, but in the quiet moments of our everyday lives. His words echoed in my heart like a solemn bell, urging me to protect my freedom at all costs. Even as I trembled at the thought of what might come, a spark of defiant hope ignited within me. I knew then that this was not just a prophecy of doom, but an invitation to rise, to awaken the strength within, and to stand up against the forces that would seek to enslave us. With every beat of my heart, I promised myself that I would never surrender my right to choose, my right to be fully, wonderfully human. And as his gaze held mine, I felt an unspoken bond, a promise that, together, we could resist the darkness and keep the light of freedom burning bright. He placed his hand on my shoulder, and in that electrifying moment, I felt a surge of divine energy flood through me, a power so intense it seemed to shake the very foundations of my being. His touch was both comforting and commanding, a clear reminder that I was now chosen as a vessel for something far greater than myself. As he looked deeply into my eyes, his gaze bore into me with a mixture of tender compassion and unyielding urgency, in a voice that resonated like the whisper of eternity. He said, "You must return." Every word he spoke carried profound purpose. "Go back and tell everyone what you have seen," he urged. "Share with them the vision of a future where the light of truth stands against encroaching darkness. Time is slipping away faster than you can imagine. When this mark is forced upon you, those who accept it will lose their freedom, the freedom to choose, to think independently, even the ability to hear my voice. Every thought of me will vanish in an instant, as if it had never existed." I stood there, overwhelmed by the gravity of his warning, feeling as if the very air around us had thickened with the weight of a future we dared not ignore. Do not be misled by empty promises of better health, longer life, or incredible power, he continued softly, yet with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. This isn't progress, it is the enslavement of your soul. His words struck me like a bolt of lightning, awakening a deep-seated resolve within me. I envisioned a world where every moment of complacency would cost us our very humanity. A future where our free will could be snuffed out in a heartbeat. In that charged, heart-wrenching moment, I felt an overwhelming duty to become the voice of this divine revelation. Every fiber of my being pulsed with a sense of sacred responsibility, and I vowed to carry this urgent message back to the world. I pictured a future where even the smallest spark of resistance could ignite an unstoppable flame of freedom. It was clear that every word I now spoke could awaken countless souls from their slumber. The urgency of his message reverberated inside me like a relentless drumbeat, echoing through every corridor of my heart. I could almost hear the quiet prayers of the downtrodden, their hopes rising like fragile whispers amid the encroaching darkness. Every promise of salvation, every desperate cry for liberation converged into one unyielding call to action. I resolved then that I would bring this sacred truth to every corner of the earth, shining its light even in the bleakest of times. I recalled the many moments when I had been seduced by the glittering promises of modern marvels, blind to the silent cost of surrendering our will. Now, standing at the crossroads of destiny, I vowed that I would never allow that mark to steal the light of my soul. I promised to hold on fiercely to my inner fire, even as the shadows of a dark future loomed ever closer. Every fiber of my being now pulsed with a sense of divine duty, a promise that I would not let the encroaching darkness prevail. I envisioned a future where even a single spark of resistance could ignite an unstoppable flame of freedom. In that sacred moment, I knew that every word I uttered held the power to awaken countless souls from their slumber. The urgency of his message resonated like a relentless drumbeat within me, echoing through the corridors of my heart. I could almost hear the quiet prayers of the downtrodden, their hopes rising like whispers in the darkness. Every promise of salvation and every cry for liberation converged into one unyielding call to action. I resolved to carry this sacred truth to every corner of the earth, shining its light even in the bleakest of times. Though the enemy's shadows may be vast, I held fast to the belief that the light of truth would always burn brighter. Embracing the mantle of a messenger, I became determined to speak truth to power, no matter the cost. With the divine spark ignited within me, I stepped boldly into the unknown, ready to herald a new dawn of freedom and hope. I knew then that this mission wasn't just a warning, it was an invitation to awaken the strength within, to resist the forces that sought to enslave our minds and souls, and to reclaim the very essence of what makes us human. And so, with every beat of my heart, I promised that I would not remain silent, that I would return and share this message, no matter how daunting the journey ahead might be. Right after his words faded into silence, I felt an immense, almost violent tug pulling me back, a force so fierce it felt as if I were being ripped from a realm of divine revelation and thrown into the unyielding grip of the physical world. In that sudden moment, a searing jolt of pain shot through every nerve in my body, a brutal reminder that, despite the transcendent visions, I was still bound to flesh and bone. Slowly I opened my eyes, and there I was, back in the familiar confines of my car. The relentless rain drummed against the roof like a solemn heartbeat, while the flashing red and blue lights of an ambulance pierced the dark, stormy night. For a long, disoriented moment, I sat there, trying to reconcile the profound experiences of the divine with the stark reality of the here and now. Every detail, the cool dampness of the rain, the persistent throb of pain coursing through me, the glare of emergency lights reflecting off the wet pavement, seemed charged with meaning. I began to understand, with a clarity that was both exhilarating and terrifying, that I had not been pulled back by mere chance. I had been rescued for a purpose far greater than simply resuming an ordinary life. As the initial shock subsided, a deep, resonant certainty took hold within me. I realized that I had been granted a miraculous second chance, a chance to become a messenger of truth. I could still feel the lingering surge of divine energy pulsing through my veins, a sacred fire that filled me with both awe and an unyielding resolve. It was clear now I had been chosen to carry the urgent message of a vision that must not remain hidden. My survival was not an accident. It was a call to action, a divine appointment to awaken the world to the impending darkness that threatened to snuff out our freedom and our very souls. Stepping out of the car, I was immediately enveloped by the raging storm. The wind howled as if echoing the cries of countless souls lost to indifference, and every raindrop that splattered against my skin carried with it the weight of a silent plea. I felt as though the elements themselves were conspiring with the divine message. Each flash of lightning, each roll of thunder, a reminder that time was slipping away and that the future we all faced was fraught with peril. In that charged moment, standing in the middle of the tempest, I vowed that I would not let this revelation fade into obscurity. I made a solemn promise to myself. I would return to the world, no matter how daunting the journey ahead, and share the sacred vision that had been entrusted to me. I imagined the countless souls still adrift in their daily lives, unaware of the silent forces at work, and my heart ached with the urgent need to warn them before it was too late. Every step I took away from the safety of that car was a defiant act against the encroaching darkness. I felt a profound responsibility to become a beacon of hope, a voice that would pierce the silence and awaken those who were sleeping through their own demise. The memory of his touch on my shoulder, the warmth of his presence, and the gravity of his words remained etched in my mind, fueling a determination that burned brighter than any storm could extinguish. As I navigated the rain-soaked streets, I could almost hear the hushed prayers of the downtrodden, their voices rising like whispers against the howling wind. I envisioned a future where even a single spark of resistance might ignite a blazing fire of freedom, a future where every individual would reclaim the power to choose, to think, and to live without the chains of unseen tyranny. The thought was both daunting and inspiring, and it propelled me forward through the downpour. In that unforgettable, soul-stirring moment, I realized that my life was no longer solely my own. I was now part of a larger cosmic battle, a struggle between the forces of light and darkness that transcended the boundaries of this physical existence. The painful reminder of my return, the chill of the rain, and the piercing glare of emergency lights all served as symbols of the urgent call I had received. I knew that if I remained silent, the darkness would continue to spread unchecked. Determined and resolute, I embraced the mission that had been laid before me. I promised myself that I would speak out, that I would share the vision with every willing ear, and that I would do everything in my power to protect the light of free will. My heart pounded with the realization that this was not merely a personal experience. It was a clarion call for all humanity to awaken before the final hour arrived. With every step I took into the stormy night, I carried with me the echoes of his divine command. The storm, with its relentless fury, became a mirror of the tumultuous times ahead, and I stepped boldly forward, prepared to face whatever challenges lay in wait. I knew that this journey would be long and arduous, but the cost of silence was far too high. My soul, now ignited with a fierce determination, was ready to champion the cause of truth and freedom. And so, with the storm raging around me and the divine spark still blazing in my heart, I embarked on my mission to return to the world. I would be the herald of a truth that must be shared, a beacon of hope in a time when darkness threatened to overwhelm us all. My journey had just begun, and every raindrop, every gust of wind, and every flash of lightning would serve as a reminder of the sacred duty that now defined my existence. Since that experience, I see the world in a completely new light. The technological advances we celebrate may be paving the way for hidden control, a control that could slowly strip us of our freedom and our very souls. I'm not here to instill fear, but to urge you to wake up and remain vigilant. Don't let the lure of convenience and the dazzle of progress blind you to what might be lost. Reflect on this warning. Time is running out. Please share this story so that more people can awaken before it's too late. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue sharing these powerful stories and creating a space for open, heartfelt conversations. Click the notification bell so you're always updated when we post new content. Together, let's explore the unseen, celebrate the miraculous, and inspire one another to live with love, faith, and wonder.